Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit more now, in fact, in today's Perspective. And with me here on the programme is Kelly Richman-Abdou, who's a guide here in Paris, including, of course, of Notre Dame. She works, in fact, for Paris Muse, concentrating on Paris's art. She also has a bachelor's degree in art history and arts management from the University of San Francisco and a master's degree in art and museum studies from Georgetown University. Yes. Great to have you with us on the programme.
So much for having me.
I mean, obviously, you know this building very well,
yes.
taking people around it all the time. From the images that you've seen and the layout of the building, if you like. You were telling me just before we came on air that you do have real fears for some of those items that could be in the building. It could have been, if you like, in the line of fire.
Yes, yeah, quite literally in the line of fire. While so many of the things that initially we were worried about have been saved, and there's actually hope for a lot of the things that were being questioned. I've just grown so attached to some of these objects that have such an interesting story. A couple of them being, one is a keystone. So right under that 750-ton spire, there is a little medallion that shows the Madonna holding Jesus, surrounded by stars. And Gothic cathedrals often have these keystones, and they're often very ornate and elaborate, but this one's it's quite understated and simple. And it's always been something I've pointed out to show the kids who the 8 to 14-year-olds, that is where that giant spire is, hovering right above us.
Yeah.
So, of course, we know the spire came right through the ceiling. That's one of the 3 holes that's formed. And so that's a big concern, wondering about that. And then my biggest concern is this 14th century choir screen. So it's a screen, virtually a wall that surrounds the choir, where the choir sits, they sing, the priest sits on the high altar. It's polychrome wood. So, all wood, not looking good. But like I said, from the 14th century, and that's something that the kids always really like because it really brought the story to life. We look at the stones, we look at these statues, but to see it all painted and with gold, it was really something special. So that's something I've been trying to find out about, and so far, no news. So.
And I mean, knowing the building so well and being able to talk about individual items like that, I mean, when you saw those images on Monday night on the television, what were you feeling?
Yeah, so immediately, of course, like everyone, I was shocked just to see. So I actually was a bit late to the news. I was actually in a meeting. I came out and I had all these texts from people wondering if I'm safe, asking, just because everyone knows how attached I am to the building. So my husband and I turned on the news, and I just was in absolute disbelief. Within 5 minutes of turning it on, the spire had fallen. And so we picked up our 1.5-year-old and actually went down to Hotel de Ville to see these images. And just to kind of understand what exactly is going on. So, of course, I'm thinking of the interior, but equally, we get down there and to see that spire no longer there, to see the skyline just change so drastically in a matter of minutes, that was really something, and something I won't forget. But like everyone else, even if you don't know the building that well, you're going to have that shock, and to see it so different it's unsettling. Yeah.
Just try and be optimistic as well, because obviously a lot was saved as well. I mean, there was one point, I remember just as I was going to bed on Monday night, because obviously I get up very early to do this programme, they were really talking about the fact that the towers could be coming down as well. I went to bed half thinking I might wake up in the morning to find there's hardly anything left. Yeah. It's not the case, is it?
Not the case. And I mean, I was up until 2:30 in the morning that night because I was so distraught by that possibility. But that was actually everybody loves these towers. They're the symbol of Notre Dame. They're what you see. I've always had a very big interest in these towers since I was little. I don't know what it is about them. Something mysterious, the grotesque, the gargoyles. It's fascinating, and it's like a fairy tale. So I always had that interest. And so I was actually, once I got over the fact that the spire was gone, I just kept repeating, what if the towers fall? Like, what if this just isn't here anymore? So I'm very relieved to see this. And it's not the first time by any means that Notre Dame has gone through something like this. But arguably, it's not even the worst that it's seen. I mean, it's 200 years after it was built, kings were modernizing it, taking down medieval glass, taking out things. Then there was the iconoclast, where it was, just absolutely battered. French Revolution, the wars. It's been through a lot, and it's going to be okay. It is going to be okay.
And also, of course, presumably a lot of the art, particularly the paintings, for example, around the edge of the building.
Yes.
Presumably away from the fire. I mean, I'm sure there've been smoke damage at the very least, but stuff that can be restored.
Yeah, so many. And just, seeing if the first image is coming from the interior, it's, it is a bit upsetting to see what's happened around the altar and to see the beams all over the floor, but at the same time, it's in much better condition in the back of the nave where the pews are. And that's, like you said, where a majority of those paintings are. They're in those chapels. And so we don't know about the specifics, and there's these, the large scale ones you're not so sure about, but so far it looks like many of them were removed, and like you said, maybe just suffering from smoke and maybe a bit of water damage. But
I know you particularly like taking children around. You take a lot of children and families around as well. I mean, why is that? I mean, what is it about Notre Dame that inspires families and children to want to go around as well?
Yeah, so Notre Dame, it's often been seen as a storybook in stone, which is actually the name of our tour. And that's because it has so many, that's the relief carvings on the outside and then the art on the inside. It's just every single thing tells a story. Literally, it tells Bible stories. So literally, it was made for people who couldn't read during the Middle Ages. And so they would hear these stories inside the church and then actually get to see the characters, in stone. So it was known as a poor person's storybook. But, from a not so literal point, it also just has such a history that every single thing, things that you wouldn't normally see or expect, are going to have a story to them. And so that's really how we try to guide these children around. So, you do make a lap around the church with everybody else kind of in this corralled manner. So we try to take them through and see these nuances and quirks. So, we'll weave through the columns to find mysterious mason marks. And we will, I'll point out the fact that Joan of Arc looks like she's in awe of the rose window. So we really try to take them through in a way that they can form their own stories from it. And it's, it really is just this storybook in stone.
And finally, I mean, what does this mean for people like yourself? I mean, I'm sure you won't be out of a job, but at the same time, there are people like yourself, like people who work on a daily basis in Notre Dame who basically aren't going to be able to go inside, presumably, for a few years whilst this is all sorted out.
Yeah, and so they're saying 5 years, which is extremely optimistic. So, so for us and the tour of Notre Dame itself, of course, is going to have, it's going to be put on hold for a bit, but other tours of ours actually focus on Notre Dame. It is such a symbol of Paris. So it's going, some tours start here, some tours end here, some you just look at it. And so we are trying to find ways to kind of, we're looking at it positively. So we're trying to find ways to work around this while, still telling its story and honoring its history. And so, still trying to navigate that. But we are optimistic about it. We are.
Well, great to have you with us on the programme. I hope you managed to work out ways of still doing the tour. I'm sure you can do things from the outside as well.
Exactly.
But Kelly Richman-Abdou, thanks very much for being with us on the programme today.